candidate for governor, Zeldin, is excited to hear from the Caribbean diaspora. We have a lot of members of the diaspora here. I won't take too much time. As you can see, he's just arrived with his running mate, Allison Esposito, who's seeking the nomination to be our lieutenant governor as well.
When you have the attitude that no one can take your vote for granted, and that message gets sent to the elected officials, it gets sent to the candidates, it makes them work hard to earn your trust. We need to turn the diploma into a certificate that 9th grader, the 10th grader knows that if they get that diploma, that means that the next day there's a good paying job waiting for them.
There are some absolutely fantastic violence interrupters, and then there are violence interrupters that are not as fantastic. And in regard to working with them, the ones that are working alongside the police, the ones that are working to better the community, they will have the support that is needed to continue their work. Again, some are better than others, as in most industries, but they did add a wonderful aspect to policing where they would be able to come in on a volatile, and I worked with one violence interrupter that pops to mind, and it was her name was Coco, and we would go to a street that was absolutely wall-to-wall people drinking, there was drug use, it was going to turn violent if the police clashed with them, and she was like, give me a couple of moments, and she was, I don't want any violence, let's disperse, we have to break up the group, and we were able to do it without any officers being hurt, any community members being arrested, and we were able to work together. So going forward with things like that, the violence interrupters can be very, very helpful.
What kind of a state do you want? What kind of a city do you want to live in? What's your most important priority? And then get informed on the voters on where they stand on the issues that matter most to you. And don't let anybody ever take your vote for granted. Make them earn it. And then make them work hard to earn keeping your support.
Right now, there's supposed to be millions and billions of dollars out for entrepreneurs, especially women of color. And what's happening is we're not seeing those resources. And I personally want to share that I have to take out loans for my small company and business as I'm trying to grow. So I need to know what you guys plan to do for that, because you're the Republican Party with a lot of funding. When I go to the bank and I deposit my money, when I give them my coins, I'm looking to build a relationship. I'm not looking to understand every single thing, because even when I do try to figure it out, we're still at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm Haitian American, first generation. My parents came here for a dream.
At the end of the day, there are lots of Black Caribbean people from different islands. They are even embarrassed to say they are Republicans because they are overwhelmed by so many Democrats. So I would love before the campaign ends to see you if we could organize, just even if it's for 1 hour, because I know how hectic the schedule is for you. You have to campaign all over the state. Maybe to walk down Flatbush Avenue, Church Avenue for 1 hour.
I want to go everywhere. I want to meet everybody. I want to meet everybody.
Well, it was a very good get-together. I'm afraid it's a bit late, but it's never too late since the election is around the corner. But as you can see, the congressman, the next governor, he listens, and let us hope that he wins and that he will recognize us in the Caribbean American community to give us some of the necessary resources that we need. Yeah, we need resources in the Caribbean community. Unfortunately, the other party with Brooklyn Caribbean people with 80% all being Democrats, the Democratic candidates normally take us for granted. So we support, but we don't get back. But here is a candidate who is fighting for our vote, meaning Zeldin. So hopefully, if we get him to Albany, that he will give us the resources that we need. Not $2 for Labor Day Carnival, but give us something that will address our housing situation, employment, and giving good resources to the community that is uplifted. Caribbean people are never at the table in Republican administrations because we cease to be in one party, and sometimes the other party just take our vote for granted. So it's very essential that we are in both tables. So if there are two tables, that some of us should be in one table, others should be in another table. And I've never been afraid to say that I am a Republican. And the reason I'm being a Republican has nothing to do with philosophy or ideology. It's simply that too many of us are in one party, so we need to be at the table in the other party. And again, I am the district leader in the 42nd Assembly, the Republican district leader in the 42nd Assembly district here in Flatbush, Brooklyn. We in the Caribbean community, we believe that if we are not a Democrat, then we are insane. But again, politics is not about who you necessarily support, but it is about power and delivering resources. And this is what we need. A lot of us who represent us in the black community of Brooklyn who say that they are Caribbean leaders, which they are, but behind the scene, they get support Republican initiatives so they can get votes, but we don't get the money, meaning the grassroots Caribbean people.
My name is Allison Esposito. I am running for Lieutenant Governor alongside Congressman Lee Zeldin against Kathy Hochul this November 8th to restore public safety and sanity back to New York State. The question was posed to me about the violence interrupters. As a commanding officer, I retired from the New York City Police Department with almost 25 years. I was a commanding officer of Police Service Area 3, and I worked with numerous violence interrupters that helped the police. With every industry, there are great violence interrupters and those violence interrupters that are not so great. The ones that I worked with that were supportive and amazing with the police, they were able to kind of get involved with the community, and they were able to quell violence before it started, and it was great to work with them. I look forward to working with them again in the future.
Well, as you heard from Allison Esposito, who's running as my running mate, our state's next lieutenant governor, she was articulating very well how there are examples of the program working successfully and others maybe not as successfully. So we have to ensure that we're making the investment in ways that are working, that are going to work. You have to be responsible stewards of tax dollars. It serves an important purpose. But I very much will be leaning on Alice Esposito and her experience to make sure that the investment's being made the right way. Make sure we're funding what works and we're not funding what doesn't work.
When you look around this, you see one party that shows up all the time and does very little. You have another party that rarely shows up and never sees the real pain and suffering. And in that void, you have real people experiencing real pain that goes unaddressed. And so for me, the quest is clear: to tell the untold story of our communities, where 70% of black students in New York City just failed the math exam and no one is doing anything about it. Where 65% of black children are not reading at grade level in New York City and no one is doing anything about it. Where shootings went up 90%, homicide went up 30%, and the overwhelming majority of the victims were black and brown people, and we have a government that likes to pretend there is no problem. And so now we have a mayor that just declared a state of emergency for a migrant crisis on the southern border, and my opponent has said the last 2 years that the crisis does not exist, that it is the figment of the imagination of politicians. And so we are at a rubber meets the road moment where we need to have real leadership that addresses real problems that are harming people every single day.
It's extremely important for our people to be represented. We are New Yorkers, we are here, whether Caribbean American, wherever we come from. We are part of the great American family fabric. We demand that we are seated at the table where decisions regarding our community are made.